All set?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this November 1st, 2012 school board meeting. November already. Call the meeting to order, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Emma, would you mind leading us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'll continue by reading our mission statement. The Newmarket School District is committed to the highest standards of quality education. We ensure a safe and successful learning community. We embrace diversity and respond to the social, emotional, intellectual, and physical needs of every child. We strive to work with a broader community to ensure that students develop lifelong skills, enabling them to be contributing and productive members of society. Welcome, everyone. I see tonight we don't have any recognitions, so we'll go straight to the public comment period. If there's anyone here who would like to make comments, this is the time to do so. And seeing none, we'll move on to minutes. Is there a motion regarding the minutes of the October 18 school board meeting?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from October 18th.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I'll make a motion to accept the non-public minutes of October 18th.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on these? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 25th budget work session.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on those minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries as well. Okay, on to committee reports. Ms. Walensky, you have a student report this evening? Tell us some great news about soccer.
Yes.
Yeah, the girls won on their semifinals, 2 overtimes, 3-0, and we'll be playing against Southern New Hampshire University at 1:45 against Littleton. All the girls were so tired this morning. My brother was really tired. Not that he did anything except watch, but he was really tired this morning. And the improv show and the Halloween ice cream social did very well. The boys varsity had a great run, but lost last Saturday. The talent show is next Friday and will be hosted by the senior class. Junior high basketball tryouts begin next week, Wednesday the 7th. The math team got 5th place in their meet last week. Rakapalooza is after school tomorrow, Saturday morning, and if it rains, it'll be on Sunday. The Apple Pie Fundraiser is put on by Student Council. They're homemade apple pies that we will all be making, and you can pick them up on November 17th from 12 to 2 in the cafeteria, and they're $12 a pie. $10 a pie. And order forms, you can pick them up in the office or at talent night at the door. And the slips will be due on the 9th for a guaranteed, but if you just want to stop by and see if there's pie left, there'll probably be pie left too. The junior class still has tickets to their Monarch game. They're good seats still, and they're $20 a ticket. The game is November 10th, and if you have any questions, you can contact Mr. Andriski. And last week, there was the Meet of Champions. Our cross-country team went and finished 18th out of 28, which is very good for us. Yeah,
Excellent.
that's it.
Any questions for Emma?
No, I have to say, I went to that game last night, and it was amazing. I mean, I've lived here my whole life, and I've seen a lot of soccer, but they just gutted that game out like they left it all up on the field. It was very impressive and inspiring to watch. So you got to come out and go to the game on Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I'm making signs.
Oh, we're making signs. All right, good. I hear we're supposed to wear black.
will do.
That's what I heard from
Right.
Mr. Andruski.
So they played Sunapee, who won the championship last year, and they were seeded, I think, first.
And they
in
were
the tournament,
undefeated.
So, and they were undefeated.
They were undefeated.
right?
In double overtime, we took them in, or after, it was down to a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Annalise, I've been thinking all day, I was like, if I had the power, I would have made like yesterday Annalise Schmidt Day, because like she really, I don't know.
is that a motion?
Yeah, can we please? She deserves it.
Annalise is the goalie for those who
Yes.
are at home. In a shootout, that's
I
tense
did
place
find
to
out
be.
today they had practice in Portsmouth on a turf field, trying to make sure that we're even. And Annalise and Kat did not practice because they just were physically spent at the end of that game. So I'm glad that they're getting some much needed rest.
Excellent. All right. Dr. Hayes, you have a superintendent's report for us, things you'd like to highlight?
Yes, a few things. First of all, in the next couple of weeks, we have a couple no-school days, just to remind parents that on Election Day, there's no school, both for students and staff. So the voting is in the high school gym, so again, next Tuesday, no school. And then the following week, on the 12th, Veterans Day, no school again. So call that to people's attention. Today at the elementary school, they had a mock election. Ms. Keefe's and Williamson's fourth grade classes ran a mock election. I haven't heard any results yet, but I'm sure that was fun. Playground cleanup. The elementary school is having a playground cleanup on November 3rd. What's that, Saturday, right? Yes, Saturday. With a rain date of November 17th. They're doing it from 8 to 10 in the morning. And note here says trucks are needed. They're going to be trimming branches, brush, bushes, hauling to the dump. So looking for people to give any time that they can on Saturday morning, 8 to 10. Lastly, on November 14th is a family literacy night at the elementary school. I don't have the time here, but I believe it was I won't say it. Let me see if I got the time over here. Yes, at 6:30, that's what I thought. 6:30 at the elementary school. Kids in the service learning part of Linked Together, they're hosting a family literacy night during which families can come to hear books read by Newmarket dignitaries, it said. So, so we'll have to see who those folks are and participate in a book swap. So, again, that's November 14th, a family literacy night at 6:30 at the elementary school. I've included in your packet a NES News newsletter with a lot to read of what's going on in different classrooms. Obviously, we missed 2 days this week from Hurricane Sandy, so now our last day of school has been moved to June 18th, so we're keep bumping that calendar forward. One of the things that was canceled as a result of Hurricane Sandy, SAU 16 was having that joint board meeting where they invited all of the candidates running for the legislature to come and talk about common issues that we share as educators as to the effects of things that happen in legislation. And so that has been moved to Monday, November 19th, same time, 7 o'clock at SST. And I heard today that they're not changing the invitations. So win or lose, all of the candidates are still invited to be there. And so, Cliff and I went last year. It was, I think, very useful meeting to share the effects of legislation on the local school districts. Another thing, just to let you know, something that I'm working on and I'm pretty nearly finished with, working on a proposal for use of the funds that come out of the Comcast cable contract. You may recall we've purchased equipment in the past. What we're putting together now is a package to purchase the equipment that allow us to do live productions anywhere. So, as I wrote in my notes, I put public hearings, deliberative sessions, and championship soccer matches.
Yes.
So if we had the equipment, we would do that. But so that kind of equipment hopefully will be in the near future. We're trying to purchase that now so that we'll be trained and ready to do our deliberative sessions and public hearings live. So
That would be from anywhere in town?
anywhere. It's like mobile. I mean, we have the mobile equipment now to do production shoots, if you will, but they're videoed and then processed through the cable later. but this would be live anywhere in town or anywhere, so. But it'd be a combination of our money through the cable contract plus funds that the technology department of the town has. Again, I think it's through the cable CIP funds, so. So that'd be a big step forward for us to be able to do that kind of work. And that's all I have on superintendent's report.
All right, any questions on those items? Okay, on to facilities then.
We had a very active facilities meeting on October 23rd. And so I'll just summarize. I won't go through all of the details here, and then if there are questions, happy to answer them. Although I will say the minutes of that meeting are already posted online if people choose to go and look at them. But the first thing I reported on were tuition talks with Oyster River Cooperative School District. We met on Monday, October 22nd, and had I think a very productive meeting from this group anyway. It was Chet and Meg and myself. Plus, we had the principal and assistant principal from the high school, and we met with counterparts from Oyster River. And again, it was productive so that they could get an understanding of what our interests were, and which we talked about tuition agreements, we talked about grade spans, we talked about that it might not be tuition agreement, it might be an interest in a cooperative arrangement that we look at buying into the cooperative as well. So anything and everything we wanted to be sure was still on the table as they looked at it. We were told that by the end of October, their analysis that was being done would be reported out and that it would be available. I still have not heard from the superintendent that they have received that report, but that was an analysis for Oyster River to take a look at their demographics and the impact on program and when might be a good time and what would be their capacity to take on communities like Newmarket. I say that because they're also talking with Deerfield. They're also talking with Barrington and about similar things, but they obviously can't accommodate all of those towns. To me, the disappointing piece was that the superintendent expressed that he felt that the timeline for processing within his communities was going to take longer than he originally expected, that it might be unreasonable to think they will have processed it all of the way such that we'll be able to make some kind of concrete decision in March. And by concrete, I mean have really a draft of a tuition agreement if in fact one's going to happen. I think the only answer that we might get from them of a concrete nature is that if they get this demographic study, and it'll point the way to either there's room to handle all of Newmarket students, which right now is estimated roughly at 300 students for the high school, or not. And if not, then that's the end of the discussion. But if so, then the talks will continue. And we have not set another date, but we will, depending upon the outcome of that report. We talked for some time about the Stratum Votech site. Again, that was still on our list of options, and the architect and I had prepared a memo outlining the further study that we've done and what we think the results of that mean. For us, it was a recommendation that we no longer look at that as a viable site, and as you can see from my comments here, it was a consensus of the Facilities Committee that they agree that we stop looking at that as any possibility for our future. The bulk of the evening was taking a look at project designs for both the addition renovation of the existing school as well as two concepts for a new school on the new land that we purchased, the Carpenter property. And then after that, it went into a discussion of the costs for those three projects. And then kind of critiquing it in a way that said, gee, I think this could change and this could change. So that's why you haven't seen a lot of documentation around what was presented, because we really want to only come forward with the revisions that were there. And so we're still working on those. One of the things was to create another option, so we're looking at 4 options. Here are the 4. I've already mentioned 3 of them: the addition renovation of the existing school, We had a design that was the new school with an auditorium on the Carpenter property, a design that had the same layout, only removing the auditorium, but leaving space for a future construction of that auditorium. What came out of our meeting on the 23rd was a desire to see a revision that said we want to see the school that would not provide for that future addition, and hopefully that might create some efficiencies in design and then ultimately in cost. So in the last week, I've been working with the architects about that last option. We've been revamping that area of the design. We finished it off today, so now that information is going to go to the cost estimator, and so hopefully within a week or so, we'll have new cost estimates for these and new drawings that we can then put out there for the public. Last thing, I mentioned it at the meeting on the 23rd, and now I'm announcing it. I haven't really put it out there publicly. I'll do that tomorrow in writing to people. But I wanted to have a number of forums, give the public an opportunity at this juncture to weigh in on the concept of sending students to Oyster River, the concepts of the schools, but and the projects that we have, and the interest in an auditorium or not, because obviously that's a piece, and kind of laying out some of the issues regarding the addition renovation. So I've got several dates that I've set up. One, first of all, is with the PTA. It's at their PTA meeting on November 13th. So it's one of their regular meetings. It's not a full discussion like these other forums will be, but I'll be talking with the PTA on November 13th. Their meeting starts at 6:30, so I'll be part of that program. But two others that I've scheduled on November 14th, a 9 a.m. session, so a morning, coffee and sit around and let's talk about these issues. And it's meant for anybody, any citizen that wants to come in and discuss their concerns or ask questions. I really hope a lot of people will turn out. So that's November 14th at 9 a.m. They'll be in this room, the Town Council chamber. And then on the 19th at 7 p.m., same thing here in these chambers. And so hopefully we'll get a turnout. And I think it's really valuable if we can get some feedback at this juncture. I know we're not deep into discussions with Oyster River, nor have we whittled the 4 proposals down to 1. But it'd be a good point for us to get feedback, facilities committee members to attend as well. So I'll get word out on that tomorrow in other avenues, so I spread the word. And then we'll have a facilities committee shortly thereafter.
The third date, was that the 19th, did you say?
Yes.
At what time?
7 p.m.
So that's at the same time as the joint school
It
board
is,
meeting?
it is, but I had already explored other dates, and that's, for an evening meeting, that's really all I had.
Okay.
So it is, for you folks, it's a conflict between the program with SAU 16.
Right.
So, and again, right after, and I'll check out a date tomorrow, hopefully, and then set a next meeting for Facilities Committee. I want to do it after these public forums, and then certainly within time, we have all the cost estimates and that information.
Super.
And that's all I have. Facilities.
Any question on all those facilities? All right. Into program then. I understand that there won't be a presentation regarding the
Yes.
field trip to Spain?
Yes, I mean, it's a great opportunity, but, and I'm not sure how many students were interested in going, but they've backed out for a variety of reasons, it sounded like, and so there's no need for your approval.
Okay.
I still encourage the teacher, though, say, look, I really do support this. I think it's great if we can tag along with other schools and keep looking for opportunities to do it.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, the next item on the program is the health fair. Good evening, Lisa.
Thank you for having me here tonight, and thank you very much for your support on this event. We've been calling it the Wellness Day. It's really about making healthy choices and for students to have the opportunity to learn how to be well for life. So in the future, if we have another day, we'd like to maybe revisit the name of it, but right now it's the Wellness Day. So thank you for your support on this, and we have had a lot of people come together to help make this day happen. It's a lot more work than I could imagine. So the guidance
Sounds easy.
department has worked really hard, and we've had 30-plus volunteers coming to speak and present different topics on Wednesday the 7th from 9 to 11 a.m. We've had Jo Canavan. She assists with Nancy Winterbottom, and she has helped us make a logo and some appreciation certificates. She's worked really hard on that and done a great job. And we have Karen, I'm going to hopefully say this right, Polzanetti, who schedules and helps with the teacher luncheons, and she is helping to coordinate a luncheon for the presenters for after they finish with their day. We feel like we would like to give something back to them after them volunteering their morning for us. So far we have wellness surveys. Most of the students were able to get online through the campus portal and take a wellness survey with, depending on what grade you are in, between 26 and 28 questions related to different topics. So they rated it from most interested to least interested. And from those results, each student will be assigned to 4 different mini workshops, mini topics that they will go to for a 20-25 minute period. So we've adjusted the morning a little bit. The students end up only missing advisory and their B period class. The snack has been moved up, so they'll start snack at 8:45, and that way it'll allow the presenters to also set up for their, in each classroom. So from 8:45 to 9 o'clock, they will have snack, and then the presenters will start at 9. And it's kind of like a half an hour block for each class with a 5-minute in between kind of switch over for classes. And then they'll end at 11 and continue on with the rest of their regular day. Originally, we had planned on having a speaker in the afternoon. He was going to speak for free, and unfortunately has another commitment in a different part of the country at that point in time. So hopefully we'll still be able to get him at some point, but this way I think the staff were happy that the students will be able to experience this day but not take up the full day, especially with the last couple of days off. So I gave you an updated list of the different topics and the different presenters that are going to be coming. We have different things from Tai Chi and yoga, Zumba, different activities that the kids will be able to go try out and actually physically move around. And then we also have things from managing money to managing stress. We have, thanks to Heidi Chase, an Olympic athlete that's coming to speak with the students, and a lot of the kids are very excited about that. So I've heard a little bit of a buzz from some of the kids about things that they're excited about. So hopefully we'll find something that will engage everybody on that day. There's one change. I think the third one down, the alternative lifestyles from Seacoast Outright, they will not be coming. And we have actually added also a walking piece so that students can go out and walk, or if something, a glitch runs into that day, we have the option of getting outside and moving also. So, any questions?
Excellent. Sounds like a great event.
Looks great. Thank you.
Jam-packed with all
Thank
sorts
you.
of
Yeah.
different things. I actually did the survey with Madison.
Did you?
She was just like, really? I get to learn? And I was like, yeah, just whatever you're interested in. So they were all very excited.
Which is good.
Thanks for all that hard work.
Oh, thank you. I want to thank, too, the teachers, especially the language arts teachers, because it kind of came through them as a homework assignment to do the wellness survey, and there were a couple glitches with the program, and there were glitches with people's logins, so I want to thank all the staff for helping with that, because it has kind of affected everyone. So,
That's very nice.
thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay.
Say one thing. I'm sorry. Before I left, my son asked if I would say hi to him on TV, so hi, Colby. We weren't sure if that was okay.
It's not.
So cute.
We're gonna have a 5-second delay.
Cute, cute.
All right.
I did
Okay.
say, Mom, please don't say anything about me. on the
All right, Jean Parsons, our special ed director, is here to do shout outs and special ed annual report.
Shout out.
Director of
I did
Student
a-
Services, that's.
What'd you say?
Director of Student Services, is more proper name, right, your title.
Just gonna- Good evening, everybody. I'm just passing out some statistics, because that's what I talk about at this time of the year, give you some information. Our percentage of identified students has remained on the low side for us. It's 16.8%, which I'm pretty happy about. The national average is somewhere around 12, 13, something like that. We were as high as almost 19 when I first came, so I think that we're in a good position with 16.8. Our total numbers of students in the high school is down a little bit, so to still be in the 16% range is good. You can see I broke out the number of identified students at each level. The pre-K students, we have 21 identified students. That's a large group. We can no longer call our program a integrated program. It has to be called a special ed self-contained program now because of the number of students that we have. We can no longer have 50%, typical students have 50% identified. And the space we're in is very, very, very tight.
So that's the driver for that change? is the
Yes,
space?
yes. We have to have 50%. We can only have a maximum of 12 students in any one class at that age, and our room is just too small to have 12 students with the number of different equipment we have to have for some of the kids. We have some multiply disabled children who use standards and wheelchairs and so on. And with the limited space in the room and all the physical activities that the little guys do, it's an undersized classroom that we're in. So as a result of that, this limited space and the high number of special education students compared to the past, we have not been able to make our individual groups 50%, only 50%. We've gone 1 or 2 children over that in each group now. And we know that there's going to be more coming because as children turn 3, they are eligible. And we know from early supports and services that there are more little ones coming. So we know that this number is not going to go down this year, it's going to go up.
So starting that program, you start on your 3rd birthday,
Yes,
different from the school year.
right. Well, it depends. There's 2 different ways to come in. You either are referred through early supports and services at 2.5. We get information as to who, as long as the parents agree to give us the names. We get the names of the students, and then the process starts where we evaluate and we make a decision as to whether or not they qualify as education disabled at the public school, because the qualification standards are different from early supports and services to the public school. And then we determine that, and one of the things the state of New Hampshire is evaluated on is whether or not those students that are referred early start programming on or before their 3rd birthday. And we're at 100% on that on our last state evaluation. So, and that's our preschool teachers. They're awesome. And then the other way they come in is whenever a parent refers them, or a doctor, or someone in the community, and that could be at any age. We might not get the referral till the child's 3.5. At that point, we're not under any obligation to have had them there by their 3rd birthday, only if we know about them ahead of time. So we do have quite a few that we know about, and that's how I know that number's going up for certain this year. We have 6 students currently placed out of district in approved special education placements. That's down from, we had 9 last year, so that's a lower number. We had a couple of students graduate, and 1 student signed out of special education and is being homeschooled. So that has lowered our numbers. And then I broke out underneath that the percentage of our identified students who have different kinds of disabilities. And for those who are mathematicians in the group, I did put an asterisk that some students have more than 1 disability, so that number will not add up to 100%. My father was a math teacher. He'd die if I did something like that. And then on the next page, I've broken out the staff that we have. at the different schools, at the different levels, including the district-wide services, school psychologists, occupational therapists, and speech and language pathologists currently. We have one high school transition coordinator, and then I have also the contracted service providers that we have to have on a regular basis for certain students. Those are ones that we don't have as staff members, but we buy pieces of their time from different agencies, or some of them are private service providers. So that's the general statement. I've been really proud this year to have a second program this summer for our students on the autism spectrum. We had started a camp conversation for the older kids. This year we have younger kids also. We had 2 programs, which have done just fantastic. And unless there are questions, that's my lead into the next group, who are presenting on social thinking.
I just had one question.
Sure.
Isn't there a position for is it a one-on-one nurse or something?
I counted her among the paras.
Okay, I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
rather
All
than,
right.
I didn't want to single that out quite so much, but I counted her as one of the paras.
I just didn't know.
Yeah, because she's falling under that category in our budget, but she's on a different salary scale.
Okay, thanks.
Good question, though.
Do you have any questions?
Any other questions?
Just generally for those particularly who might be watching, we've got 6 students educated out of district. Rather, not getting into specifics, but what kind of programs out of district might be more appropriate for a student that we can't?
Okay, well, a lot of the students have emotional disabilities, and these are students who have emotional behavioral disabilities that are so extreme that they're either disruptive to the school, or they can't learn effectively in the school environment because they need a very structured behavior management program. And some of the students need that behavior program throughout the day as a part of the entire school day and the entire school program. And it's difficult to replicate that in a public school setting. This is a situation where even when they go to lunch, they're on a behavior plan, and the lunch people are all in on it, and it's a very detailed kind of a program. Those students are out. We also have students who have severe, very, very severe kind of multiple disabilities. We have one that is outplaced that needs a very, very unique program. I can't say too much more without identifying the student. But it's something that we tried very hard to do in district with a lot of personnel, and we were unsuccessful. And that student in this situation is just doing great. I mean, so good. I often go to sleep at night and think, if I did one thing right, you know, that student has really made a difference, and I feel real good about that. We also have some students who are kind of kids that don't have extreme social problems on top of their disabilities, and don't do well in a regular setting. Their disabilities are significant, but they also have such a hard time relating to other students and being able to get along with staff. They really need a very small environment. Their anxiety is very, very high. They don't do well, even though we're a small environment. I have a couple who really fall in that category, who are in a smaller, self-contained program out of district. But again, it's only 6. It's not bad. And one of them is going to be out in a year, so I'll be down to 5. So that's kind of cool. And that's good for me, too, because I case manage them, so the smaller the numbers, the better. Okay.
All right.
So I'm going to, the next segue, I just gave you this particular group here has worked on getting this program going, the speech and language pathologists, along with our some guidance counselors. And they have developed this program and have really done a great job, and they're going to share with you the thinking and the curriculum behind the camp conversation and the importance of social thinking in our world. So.
Excellent.
I just thought I'm just going to put a few things out on the table for you to look at, some of the tools and some of the things that we've used in the program. This is millions, not all of it, but just some.
Oh, no, that's hers.
Some we've made ourselves.
Could I just get your name so I know?
Oh, I'm Susan Raymond.
Valerie Sawyer.
Lori Carmichael.
Some visuals for you. I'm Susan Raymond, as you just heard, and Valerie Sawyer, Lori and I thank you for this opportunity to make this presentation tonight. Before I begin speaking about social thinking, I would like to give a little advertisement about the Speech and Language Department. Just take a moment to let you know about some of the diverse cases for whom we speech language pathologists provide services. I think Jean just started it, which is great. Thank you very much. But the students we work with at this time are all, for the most part, they're quite complicated. Gone are the days of the mild articulation or mild primary language difficulties. We work with students who have significantly hard of hearing issues that require hearing aids and personal FM systems, students who have fluctuating hearing loss due to otitis media and subsequent learning issues, and we're learning a great deal more about that now. We work with multiply handicapped students with considerable medical issues now, students on feeding plans, students with language learning disabilities, oral motor issues, developmental and intellectual delays, students on the autism spectrum, students with severe articulation disorders, students who require voice output equipment. You get the idea. We just love working with these students. We're thrilled to have them, and we like to keep students in district as much as possible. We're very proud of being able to provide services, certainly not alone with the entire school staff. The demands and expectations of our profession include taking time to learn as much as we can about the individual student needs and to keep up with best practices, something we speech and language pathologists really like to do. And we have time to adequately prepare lessons. We need time to adequately consult with staff and provide services to the students, of course. In addition, the time it takes to evaluate students, write reports, IEPs, and attend meetings is considerable. But we, your speech language and pathologists, we just endeavor and rise to the challenge every day and are very proud of what we do. The department has and will continue to take a lead role with social thinking. However, as our roles change and continue to grow, and we realize how all-encompassing social thinking is, the school psychologists, guidance, classroom teachers, and special education teachers have taken an ever-increasing role in this implementation. And I'm just incredibly honored to work with such a talented, smart, well-informed group. So social thinking now is still part of speech and language, but has really moved beyond to other staff members, too. So tonight, we'll give you some information on just one of the areas for which we have become knowledgeable, and that's social thinking. I'll give some of the theory behind this language-based approach to social skills. Valerie will present some of the scaffolding tools that social thinking gives our students so that they can use it both in academic and social settings. And then Lori will present an example of how we use social thinking in a very successful summer program. We worked with the teens, the guidance worked with the elementary that we were able to provide in Newmarket for the past 2 summers. So, to begin with social thinking, Michelle Garcia Winner, a speech-language pathologist, first started using this approach she called social thinking in the 1990s. She based it on theory of the mind, which is the ability to attribute feelings, desires, knowledge of oneself and others, and to understand that others have feelings, desires, knowledge that are different from our own. It started as an approach to work with persons with high-functioning autism, anxiety, oppositional conduct disorders, ADHD, and other social disorders. In other words, it was an approach for really smart kids who didn't have a clue how to act around others, didn't have a clue that others were even noticing them or had thoughts about their behaviors. Kids that couldn't take in another's perspective, and kids who really could not achieve their academic potential because so much of learning requires intact social thinking. So while the program in its entirety is for those with strong intellectual skills, we've been able to use parts of it with a variety of other students who have social difficulties, students who lack awareness of others. We find it's a very flexible program with many uses. It's what I particularly like to call, it was the missing link. We had social stories and we practiced social skills with students, but these skills were specific to events. For example, it might be a skill of how to greet someone, how to, information about a field trip, how to play a game, take turns playing a game, take turns in a conversation. And sometimes these skills didn't easily generalize beyond the environment in which they were taught. But social thinking addresses that. It's just made to order for that. It teaches the kids to take information that they see, that they feel, that they hear, and regardless of the environment, then make social decisions based on that information. With social thinking, most of us are hardwired for social thinking. It starts with a significant milestone called joint attention. And that's when babies learn to look and track where someone's looking, and that gives them an idea of what the other person is thinking about. And it's very significant because it's one of the first steps in communication. Play skills soon follow, along with learning to cooperate, sharing, working as part of a group. And by kindergarten, most neurotypical children have it down pat. Not a problem at all. So what does this have to do with social thinking, the population who needs this approach? Well, the kids that we work with that need this, or the school actually works with that needs this, do not intuitively learn how to use social information the way neurotypical children do. They have to be taught cognitively how to think socially and to understand the use of socially related skills. This approach requires children to think about thinking. They have to think about it when they play. They have to think about how they play. They have to think about it in the classroom, in social relationships, work settings, and the community. These kids we work with need to work on this their entire life. We have to start teaching them when they're at a young age and continue to teach and refine them through their entire school career. I'd like to ask you to do something for me now. Could you just fold your arms? Could you just fold your arms? Thanks. Thank you. Now, I would like you to fold them the other way. Just fold them another way. Oh, you're so smart. I can't do that. Well, someone can. If you couldn't do that, you obviously are all cognitively intact and socially intact. When I try to do it, I kind of get a little mixed up. So I was hoping some of you would too. Well, because I could do it quite easily this way, but when I try to do it another way, I have to think about it. And the comparison was that's what these kids have to do. They can't just walk into a group and know intuitively what to do. They have to really look around and think about what they should do. Or they have to be taught to think about what they should do because they really don't even think about it at first. So social teaching teaches these kids to think with their eyes, to help them figure out other people's thoughts, intentions, emotions, and plans. It teaches kids to think about others and adjust their behaviors so others have good thoughts about them. They have to learn to be flexible thinkers. It teaches kids about the unwritten rules that are constantly evolving as we grow older. For example, a kindergartner can cry if someone takes a toy they want. That's acceptable. But it may not be quite as socially acceptable for a 7th grader to do the same thing or to start crying if someone takes something. And our kids that we work with may not realize that, so it will cause a great deal of social disvalue for them. Also, white lies are socially acceptable. These kids are incredibly honest, and they can inadvertently hurt feelings. And in later life, they can get fired from a job for not recognizing what's acceptable to say at work. Well, social thinking is something that we do every day, all day long, even when we're alone. When we're watching TV, we need it to understand TV drama. We need it to understand TV comedy. In school, we especially need it to understand literature. When we're learning, we have to think about characters' emotions, intentions, motives. We need to think about the character's perspective. There's a very strong academic connection, and these critical skills really are necessary, and they tie right into the goals we have for the core curriculum standards for the children to succeed with those. So by learning how other people think, students can understand other people's points of view, why specific social and communication skills are required in different situations. So as you can see, social thinking is abstract and it's ever-changing. It's difficult to discuss because it's something most of us do intuitively. But to help students think about it, Michelle Garcia Winter developed some social thinking scaffolds, which are tools to help the students learn how to think differently and learn how to think flexibly. And they guide the student so the student can think anywhere, which is what we need them to be able to do. So I want to thank you for listening, and I'm going to have Valerie will now explain some of the scaffolding tools. Thank you.
Thanks again for your time, and I'm really excited to share some of this this program with you, and in the interest of time, and since there is so much material, if somebody wants more information about it, they can email me. It's sawyerv@newmarket.k12.nh.us. Anyway, but I'd be happy to answer specific questions that way. As Susan mentioned, some of the students that we work with, have social cognitive deficits, and in the packet that was given to you, it explains the I Laugh framework, and that tells kind of a little framework of some of the difficulties that these students have. I'm not going to go over that. Also in the packet, it describes 4 steps of communication. And so some of the vocabulary that we use relates to that. And one of those steps is you consider the person you're talking with, that you know that person has their own thoughts, they have their own beliefs, they have their own views on things. And so these students need to know that other people have thoughts, other people have beliefs, and they're differing from what mine is. So one of the materials, and you can tell we use this book a lot, is it's kind of one of the real basic books that we use with this program, is Thinking About You, Thinking About Me. When we get to perspective taking, when I enter the room, I immediately have a thought. If Dr. Hayes comes in my room, I'll be like, Dr. Hayes is here, that's unusual. And then I begin to think, I wonder why he's here. Maybe he's here to discuss that email that he sent, or maybe it's an emergency, or what are his intentions for being here? And then I consider what his thoughts are. Well, is he wondering why I'm sitting at my desk and I'm not in a classroom? I am thinking about what he might be thinking about, okay? And then based on my thoughts, I'd modify my communication. So students with social cognitive deficits don't really have all those thoughts. So we kind of have to teach that to them. Other people have thoughts about you, you have other thoughts about them, you have to modify your behavior. And some of these materials also get into that, and I'll just talk about some of the vocabulary that we use. Like, this is for a lot of the younger kids, and it's called eye power, and this is a guy named Zebu, and the puppet that goes along with it. But basically, Zebu is using the power of your eyes, thinking with your eyes, making smart guesses is some of the language that we use, making smart guesses based on what you're seeing. Communicating is just not just auditory information, it's visual information, it's perceiving, it's lots of different things. Some of our basic, actually, speaking of using your eyes, you're listening with your eyes, you're listening with your whole body, and this is whole body listening Larry at school. And we made Larry here, and I don't know if I got into your classroom or not, but I got into a bunch of the classrooms, and we talked about all the parts of your body with which you listen, eyes, ears, brain, and so on. If your brain is in the group, if your body is in the group, things like that. Really, you're a social detective. No matter where you go, you have social smarts. You think about what's going on, and you modify your language. You modify your behavior based on what's going on. If you go into a room, you know what behavior is expected, and you know what's unexpected. And those are some words we use pretty frequently. I used the example, my son was in the grocery store with me, and he wanted to check out something on the bottom shelf so he's crawling along the floor, and I was like, that's a little bit unexpected to see somebody crawling on the floor, So we use that language. You're going to go into a new situation. What kind of behavior do you think is expected? What do you think is unexpected? And modify your behavior. What are other people going to be thinking if you're crawling on the floor? So explaining social thinking to kids, and this has a lot of our vocabulary that we use. And one of the things Susan mentioned is that prior to having this knowledge, we instructed students on these skills, but this really helps us to generalize it. It's the vocabulary that lots of teachers are also using. It's some of the materials, some of the tools that we've used, and it's really been helpful to us to be able to generalize that to other settings. So I just talked about some of the vocabulary, some of the materials, some of the stuff that's in your handbook, or in your packet, such as the steps of perspective taking. And we're trying. This is actually a cape that Susan and another staff member made up, but basically it's a tool kit, and you have your superhero cape. This is a guy named Superflex, and he teaches you to think flexibly. And if somebody has huge upset reactions about something, we say that glass man got into their brain. So they're going to use their Superflex strategies and pull out their tool on how to defeat glass man. Okay, so that's just giving these students some tools that they can use, so that when they go into situations that for us just might be automatic, but for them would be very, very uncomfortable, they have a tool that they can use. And so it's tools that we can use and tools that they can use. All right, I'm going to let Lori talk a little bit about how these materials, how this program has been used in the summer with some of those students. And again, if you want to email me with specific questions, please do.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm going to talk about Camp Conversation. Have you all had a chance to read about it in your packet? Mm-hmm. Okay, that helps me know what to leave in and what to leave out. We've offered Camp Conversation for 2 summers. The first summer that we offered it, we wondered how it would go, and it was a huge success. How we measured the success of it was on how our identified students did and how many peer models wanted to come and join our program. And the peer models had 100% attendance. They loved it. So one of the things that our program does, it provides social thinking curriculum for students who are identified as having social thinking deficits. And we offer the program with peer models so that they have role models for good social thinking skills. And it also helps the peer models to understand what it's like to be a student who has a social deficit, hopefully to have a connection with them that will carry on into the school year. Our program ran for 4 weeks from 12 to 3 during the extended school year. We had identified students with social thinking deficits in the peer models. We had 2 speech-language pathologists and a volunteer from UNH, a graduate student in speech-language pathology. Last year, we were able to offer that volunteer position to a Newmarket High School student who was going into education, and she was a wonderful addition to our program. The social thinking curriculum is an essential part of school success, and how our program differs from other social thinking programs in the area is that we do include the peer models. There are other programs in the area that families choose to send their children to, but they are all children who have social deficits, and they don't develop the connection with their own peers who will be attending the same school that they'll be attending to. And I think that's a really special and unique piece about our program. We'd actually like to see the program expand someday so that we could be doing it during the school year so we could keep those connections going. I think the peers that come learn as much as the students who are identified as having the needs. They learn what it's like to be a person that struggles with social issues, how they can help a person, how they can be understanding, and hopefully maybe explain when they see someone having a social difficulty in the regular school setting,
maybe explain to the other peers, wow, I know this person and I understand why they are acting like this, and these are some things we can do to make it a little bit easier for them. The way our program was set up is that we had a curriculum that we followed. On Tuesday, we practiced the social thinking skill that we were targeting for that week. On Wednesday, we went on a field trip to a place where we hope that teenagers would like to go. We did rock climbing in Dover. We did bowling at Bowlerama. We went to Hilltop Fun Center, and we went to the movies. And we practiced that same social thinking curriculum on the bus ride, at the place that we were going, on the bus ride home, getting ready to go, cleaning up. We have the opportunity to practice it throughout the whole session. And then on the third day, we practiced those skills in the Newmarket community. So we used Newmarket community field trips. We went to the Big Bean, Crack Skulls, places where we thought kids would go with their peers or with their families in the community and learn how to practice those social skills where they would actually be taking place. But that's a quick, I know we need to wrap up, and I'd like to give you guys time to ask questions about our program.
Sounds like great stuff.
Yeah.
I love the concept of the peer model, where you just kind of help instill an awareness, maybe, is a way to put it.
Yeah. The peers were wonderful, and they responded really well to it, and they really enjoyed the activities that we did. They were just excited to be a part of the program. And they got credit for, not school credit, but volunteer hours.
Volunteer hours.
Yeah, as a thank you for giving up their summertime to be with us.
And is that with the teens and then also with the younger group as well?
For 2 years, we've done it at the middle high school, and then this past summer, we began a program at the elementary school as well.
With the peer models?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious, especially at the elementary level, so how do you kind of explain to the peer models, here's a situation and...
They're a part of the whole lesson, so we don't differentiate, you're the peer model, you're the person who has the need.
Okay.
We teach it as the whole group. And then sort of as things happen, we would sort of maybe pull a peer aside and explain, oh, here's what's happening, here's an opportunity for you to do this, this is how you could help in this situation, this is why that person's doing such a thing.
So it's not like one kid's going in there thinking, I'm the one with the scarlet letter on my head.
No.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's great. Is this, so, oh, go ahead.
If I understood you correctly, you mentioned the desire to take that model and extend it through the school year. I'm curious, what are the obstacles that you see to doing that?
Probably financial.
I've done,
Yeah.
when I worked in Massachusetts several years ago, I had an after-school program similar to what Lori's describing. It was called Circle of Friends, and we used the children in the after-school program, but there were staff members that needed to be paid
Right.
separate from the, linked together kind of staff.
I see, yeah.
Materials that we needed to use, planning time,
Okay.
things like that. So it's probably.
I think that one of the reasons that our program was so successful is that, and Michelle Garcia Winter recommends this also, you have to have highly trained staff to implement this type of program. It can't be someone who's just read the book and thought it was a good
Have to have a
idea.
club.
You have to go
Yes.
through the trainings
Right.
and
Right, I understand
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
So I know that you've got the separate camp conversation, is it? What it's
Mhm.
called? But the vocabulary that you talk about, is that integrated into like the teachers that we have in the school? Right?
Mhm.
So they all know about all this stuff at all the different ages, K through 12, really?
All of them know it, but preschool is familiar with it, and you want to talk more about it? You've integrated it a lot more.
Right, kindergarten, especially classrooms who have, it's been moving slowly, but have had teachers ask me to give workshops on it that haven't had students. It was primarily integrated into classrooms that had students who had significant social difficulties. So we've started off using those classrooms and integrating it into those classrooms. They have visuals and the vocabulary. And I noticed the next year when they don't have a child with perhaps significant social difficulty in their classroom, I still see the vocabulary being used. So it was going along a little slowly, and now I have teachers that have asked me to give them workshops, so hopefully we can, because it's been successful, there's word of mouth, which.
And some of the things are easy to integrate. For instance, whole body listening, that's a skill that's perfect for every student.
That's right.
So that's very easy to integrate and do a quick teaching lesson on that. Some of the other skills, while they may seem simple, if you misuse them, it sort of defeats the purpose for the child with the social need. So even expected and unexpected, that vocabulary can be easily misused and be used more punitively, like, oh, you did something unexpected, or something like that. That defeats the purpose. So we have to be careful about just putting it out too quickly.
Which I guess speaks to why you just can't read the book and do.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I can see, I mean, this is lovely, what you have, but this stuff right here seems very young. So I'm trying to see the connection to the teenagers that you might, I mean, I imagine you're not talking to teenagers with a puppet.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do work at the junior, senior high now, so I've used it with differing age groups. And yeah, you're right, we won't use Zebu and the puppet.
But
And
definitely,
the cape, you know, we won't use that with younger kids, but certainly Superflex, we've talked about, all right, you know what, use your Superflex strategy. Also another, it's not Michelle Garcia winner, but she endorses zones of regulation is another, are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
You nodded yes. You know, getting yourself in the right zone, making sure you're ready for learning, making sure that, you know, again, I talked about glass man, and we might not use the words glass man, but what's your strategy for that, you know? So we might have used the terms like glass man and, you know, whole body listening at the younger age, but now, you know, what's your strategy for when that
Because I
happens?
imagine some of the kids, I mean, like you said, they don't necessarily know that they need to know about this stuff. So how do you get them to buy into it? I mean, the teachers and everyone around them have targeted them as, you're this person that needs this kind of thing, but that's the piece that I wonder at. Like, I see it like a middle school age where they're like, just, oh, I'm just too good for school. and-
I admire and respect our students who participate in these programs. They are so used to having to work hard to make progress that they come in and they work. And they rarely give us any argument about, you know, they might have their difficulties and their frustrations, but they do work through it. And life is very challenging if you have a social deficit, and they're used to having to work really hard
That's great
and
to
having
hear.
to do things that they may not enjoy so that they can move forward.
That's great.
During the school year, they have a variety of ways to practice it. I've done it, I do whole classroom lessons for the classroom they're in, so that the whole class is using. I don't want vocabulary used just with one student, to single them out. It can be used with all the students. Also, we have, might have lunch groups, another way to integrate peers in a very social atmosphere. Sometimes, and I also have small groups or individual therapy sessions with students where we can practice you know, specific vocabulary. We can take film, we can model it, we can practice it in different situations. And then sometimes they can invite a friend to that individual therapy where they can play a game and practice some skills playing a game. So there are a variety of ways that it can be done, can be taught, and it's ever ongoing.
Yeah.
Another thing we've used with some of the older kids is social behavior mapping, which I've used it with some of the older kids, just saying, you know, what happened here? How did other people feel about it? How did you feel about that? Or what were the consequences and how did you feel about that? And look at that, you know what? When you did stuff that was expected, what turned out was that you felt good about yourself. And, you know, why don't we try to see what's expected in this next setting, or the next time you enter the cafeteria, or the next time you're in a situation like that. Let's try to see what we think is going to be expected and what will happen, you know, just laying it out for them. Because then, you know, if you map it out a little bit more clearly and more concretely, they're a little bit better able to understand it, process it.
That's wonderful.
See, I think you guys can make money off of this. To the benefit of our children. Maybe opening up summer opportunities for kids in other districts?
Well, we had considered that. We had talked about that initially when we first started the program. But I think another key, I think that there are 3 keys to how successful it's been. The first is the trained staff. The second is the peer models. And the third is we keep our numbers low.
Okay.
So we can really intensively focus on.
Double sessions?
Well, now that's it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
9 to 12 and then 12
9
to
to
3,
12,
you
yeah.
know?
Have to talk to Justin about the elementary school, though.
Bring you to Sunday school in the morning.
But,
Thank you, that's great.
Okay.
This is wonderful.
Nice job.
thank you.
Nice
Thank you
job.
very much.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll help. Yeah.
Very enlightening
Thank you.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just, if you know somebody that wants more information about it, we're happy to let us know. We're excited to share it.
Yeah, that's great.
Right.
I feel like we're on the cutting edge.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to correspondence. Jim, do you want to speak to the memo
Yes,
regarding?
yeah, I just wanted to double check that that was the only thing that I had. Yes, I provided a memo to you that I sent to Town Council and Town Administrator Steve Fournier, and it's about the request to receive more of the impact fees that are set aside for the school use. And folks may not know, but the one action that the board did take at its October 25th budget work session was a decision to use impact fees to buy ourselves out of the lease that we have on the newer modular building, the portable, if you will, at the elementary school. We have had a continuing lease that cost the district approximately $14,000 a year, and that lease has come due, up. We finished it, and we had 2 options. Either we can roll over into another lease, which they confirmed would be another $14,000 a year, or we could purchase it outright for the cost of $56,878, which, when we started projecting out the cost of a lease and how long might we be owning this portable, unfortunately, it makes a lot more sense to buy it. And so the school board made that decision, and so the memo that you have here is a request to Town Council to transfer $56,878 to the Newmarket District from the town's impact fee system so that we can buy ourselves out of this lease. Even though the lease runs until June, we are trying to process this now because we still have monthly lease payments. And so Christine's been able to negotiate with the firm that we leased this from to agree that if we buy it out now, let's say December, then of the remaining lease payments, they'll forgive half of those payments. So we'll save ourselves some money this year, save ourselves some ongoing cost, and I think for the long-range view, we certainly expect to be living with that portable for some years to come here. So it made good sense, and so that's what this communication is. Hopefully, we'll get onto the town council agenda fairly soon so we can move this forward. I did attach to this a copy of the lease that shows, in fact, the buyout amount. And so that has gone forward to the town administrator.
Dr. Hayes, is this just a formality that we're required to do? Like when the town council reviews your memo, do they have authority to deny the impact fee use for this purpose in any way?
Well, I know that the last time we went, we sought some impact fees to offset some construction design costs, I think, for the new school. Right, for some architectural engineering design work. The impact fees, remember that those funds are generated out of from new housing that supposedly may generate new students, and that those new students have an impact on the schools. I think the town council had some difficulty seeing that there was that connection when you're talking about designing a new school. But clearly, in this instance, we're talking about buying a portable that we had to buy because we didn't have enough space in the school. And so at least in this instance, I don't think they have that ability to deny it.
There's a difference from the 71,000 to the 50. Where does the rest of that live?
That still stays in their impact fee fund that they have in the
It
bank.
has a 6-year life, so.
Because don't they run out if we reach a certain?
If you don't, yes, they will expire 6 years from the date that they're collected. So we would use
The
the first in,
ones?
yeah, first out.
Okay.
So we would keep the remaining monies with the town until we came up with another use
Another
to
use
use
of
the
it.
fund. Correct.
Okay.
Jim, if you don't mind, I would like to say, I think it was Mr. Chase, we had talked a little bit about the other 2 existing modulars that are there and about the codes, and I did get an answer to that. They are local codes, so we could work with Mr. Mulaski, but the setback is we have to be 30 feet away from the building. So if we were to return them, think new, or make any changes to the 2 older modulars, we would have to keep that into consideration, that we'd have to move them 30 feet back. Well, we'd have to make sure we're 30 feet away from the building, I should say. I don't know what we are now, but
yeah.
we're grandfathered right now, currently. So that was the answer to your question.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, are there any other questions regarding that memo?
Does that mean that if we want to change the windows, we have to move them, or are we
No,
not bothered?
no, great question. No, it would just be if we wanted to, say we wanted to return and get new, we would
Okay.
have to comply with the new codes that are in place.
Okay. Ready to move on to business department things in the FY 13-14 budget proposal?
Yeah, not a whole lot to say on the FY14 budget proposal. I mean, we had a productive work session, gave us direction as administrators as to what you're looking for the next time that we meet, which is a week from tonight. And we had a terrific meeting, I thought, today, trying to, again, taking a look at the budget and how can we whittle that down. As you know, on the 25th, it was nearly a 5% increase over this year. So we've brought that down somewhat, and we have another meeting scheduled for tomorrow afternoon where we hope to finalize another look at what if we take it to another more stringent level. And so we'll certainly be prepared for next week's, and if I can get things handled, I will send you out a packet in advance so you have things to look at. So that's so yeah, we hope to finalize things tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. That's all I have, and then I know Christine has the next one, update on the fund balances.
Yep, absolutely. So I have, for those of you at home, I have handed out a trust fund balance report, and Michelle Gregg, who is our financial assistant, put together this spreadsheet, so I can take no credit for it. So good work to her. And what you're seeing here on this sheet is the balances as of August 31st, what we've paid out. That was paid out in September, but it's just a formality because it was posted into last year's school year, but you're seeing it here because it's year-to-date. The encumbrances are what we also call as obligations that we know of that we're complied to pay that will be reimbursed. So that's what the encumbered box is there, and then the interest that we've earned in September 30th, and then the current balance as of September 30th is the most current that we have. I do want to briefly just discuss this Newmarket School Improvement Fund.
Yeah, what is that?
So it was started, let me just grab my note, back, I forget the year. It was started a few years ago with $6.04. So, and it was created in 2003 with $6.04. And then another $446.75 was donated in March of 2006. So, and then you've earned interest on that. And so the intent was to improve the school. So, and
These are personal donations?
these are. So what I would recommend is, because it's just, it's so minimal, that we can either do two things. We can roll it over into one of the existing, or we can use those funds for something that's coming up, for architect, engineering, design, if you choose to, but it's just kind of sitting there on its own in its little bucket, so.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, so did I. $6.04. I was like, what is the 4 cents?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of remember it. I remember, I think that it was a board member that actually put the bulk of that money in it, a former board member. And I think that the thought was, we're talking about, doing something, making improvements. Why don't we create this fund that anyone in town can just donate money to? And I think that was kind of the genesis of that, but didn't get a lot of airplay. So
Apparently not. It's the fund that no one knows about.
Yeah.
So I would need, so I guess I'd be asking for the board to either make a recommendation that we use the funds so that we can close the funds out, or we can transfer the funds into one of the current and just kind of consolidate.
Well, I would think to use it, we would want to use it for a specific purpose. So if you had like something specific.
That was $506.84.
Well, I get many bills that are
Good
more than that
ideas,
this
yes.
can go towards.
Feel like a recommendation maybe at the next meeting or something?
Yeah, I can give you a recommendation at the next meeting. Would you rather do that than combine them
I would.
together?
What it is.
That or, roll it into
That's-
another fund that has
Yeah.
similar purpose.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we'd be, tapping into at that point.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not
the
going
ex-
to make or break. Does anyone have any strong opinions, which?
Yeah. If it were my choice, it'd be the expansion.
That's what I would recommend
Yeah,
as well.
that's
The most close.
Because they're one and the same,
Yeah.
same purpose.
School improvement, school expansion.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just like another one of
That's
those funds that we're paying
That fund's a good one?
to have
Would you do
there.
that?
So is that a motion, Chat?
Yes.
'Cause I think we should probably formally.
Probably, yes, we need
Correct.
to.
I would
Right.
need it to be formal.
But you want to make
So-
that- Said it.
So moved.
Transfer the Newmarket School Improvement Fund of $506.86 to the expansion school account.
Can you add plus interest, because this is as of
Well, I
September
did add
30th,
I said 506.86.
plus any interest?
Any
Any
additional.
other
Any other interest
Any other-
for the month,
Okay.
because the months can be closed,
Good.
so.
Thank you, Chet.
I'll second that.
You don't want it to just remain open with 14 tabs?
No, because I think it would be like 6. Looking at this, it was 2, so I was kind of thinking maybe triple it, so 6 cents, yeah.
Any other comments or?
No, I just
thoughts
have
on
a
it?
technical question. So, this is my lack of knowledge, I guess, about warrant articles. I need to improve on that. So we can, as a board at any time, is it just this particular fund that we have this sort of flexibility with to roll it over into a different?
The only one you are not an agent for is the expansion of school facilities.
you.
account. I'm sure you could, put money into
Yeah.
it, but in terms of
We can't take
expending
money out of it.
anything, you can't.
Correct.
Only the voters can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
That's a great question, though, so.
Mm.
Well, it's things you think you know, and then.
No, because
situations like this, I'm like-
they're very complicated warrant articles. I do have another,
Yep, we haven't voted.
just kidding.
Any other thoughts on that motion that's on the floor?
moving along.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I have a comment about these unless
Okay.
you're moving on.
Okay,
I was going to move on, so.
Okay.
motion
I have,
passes.
I have another question about some of this. I probably should know what these are, but these encumbered amounts,
Mhm.
do we have specific things related to them, or are they?
We do.
Okay.
So for an example, I'll give you the school technology, that 54,525.
Yeah.
That's for the encode of the 41,000 and change, and then I came back and asked for the 13,400.
Yeah.
So that's what, that makes up. The dual purpose is what we've incurred for expenses. So those are encumbered, so we have purchase orders outstanding for them.
Expenses related to the school designs? Is
I
that
think
what
they
you,
were all school design.
school design?
Architect,
Yes.
engineering, it'd be those type of fees.
Okay.
Yep. So that's what they're encumbered, they're allocated because we have already have an obligation that we have to pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's dual purpose, and this is a chance for my comment. It's dual purpose. The second purpose is fire and life safety, and so none of that 82,000 that's already encumbered is for that, for fire and life safety. However, today, I exchanged emails with Cliff and with Rick Mulaski, fire chief, and with our architect, because early tomorrow morning, we were supposed to be meeting to make what I would call a go or no-go decision on whether we start designing the solutions for our two big fire and life safety issues. One of them being an elevator with an enclosed stairwell, the other being the code-compliant egress from those science labs. And what I put out there to people was that I don't think we're in a position to simply say no go. I think if we're really going to be ready for, depending upon what happens at a March annual meeting, we have to be ready at that point to go out to bid so that we're ready to do those projects in the summer. I know we hate to do that, but it's prudent to start the wheels going. And so that's the question. Actually, Dan was the one who raised it with me, so then I raised it with Cliff and Rick Mulaski, and we all of the same mind. Knowing what we know now and where we are, we need to start that design work going so that we're ready come March. So we agreed not to meet tomorrow, and I gave the architect the go-ahead. And so the funds to pay for that design work come out of this dual-purpose fund. You don't like the idea? Tell me. But really, where are we? We're on a slower road than we anticipated with Oyster River. We have 4 designs that are moving forward now. Hopefully, at some point, we'll whittle it down to 1. But will we really be at a place by March to say, oh, we're not going to do any of those fire and life safety things? We can't. I'm not sure that we can really keep putting them off so that in summer of 2015, we're totally overhauling that building. Fire chief has been very clear in any conversation that I've been in, and I know Cliff was in the last one, very clear, saying that deadline still stands. You have to be code compliant by September of 2015.
Go ahead.
The thing is, the thought process behind this dual-purpose fund was to sock money away so that we can wait as long as possible to do any of these big projects, just in case we do tuition out to Oyster River or build another building. So doing something like adding an elevator just to me does not, that should be the very last thing that we do.
There isn't a piece of me right now that would put any money towards putting an elevator in that school. It makes
And yet-
absolutely no sense.
And yet we have, again,
I
you
get-
have pressure from fire officials saying you have
By
to be
2015,
making progress
right,
on these.
Right.
But saying you have to be making regular progress on these. That's that pressure, and I don't disagree with you. The difficulty here, I mean, you can make a decision in March as to whether to do it, but the difficulty is that you need all of this architectural and engineering work done in order to go out to bid, and if you don't do it now, then you'll have lost the summer construction period. Okay. You're the school board, you can give me direction. If you don't want me to, that's fine.
I think what we need to do, what I would like to see us do again, is take a look at the list again, and, maybe pick off some things that'll make Chief Mulaski happy that we're making some progress, but will not sink the kind of money that putting an elevator on a building that we may not keep would.
And is it true that the elevator that they would have to construct would not be something that we could reuse in the renovation design?
Dan and I talked about that today. I mean, so far the conversation has been exactly what you said. that it would be placed at the end of that corridor, out the parking lot, and so then it wouldn't fit within the ad renter design that we have. What he said to me today is what he would do is the work he would start is planning the egress from the science labs first, and that hopefully by the time he's ready to start the elevator, we will have made a decision. Are we talking about an addition renovation or not? And if we are, if that's our preferred project, then he would try to design that in a way that it could be part of an ad reno project.
That's closer to what I would consider doing. I
Yes,
just
I
can't.
know.
I mean, I understand the need to have the design, so part of me feels like, okay, go ahead, do the design work. Doesn't mean we actually have to do it.
Right.
But that's a waste of money. I feel like that's a waste of money too,
I know.
you know?
But if you,
I don't wanna
but if
waste-
time isn't on your side, the construction's going to disrupt the school environment anyway. If you don't take advantage of the summer, then you disrupt it just that much more.
This summer. I would really like to revisit the list.
Entire list.
Okay.
To see if there are other smaller ticket items that we can pick off that will appease.
Peace.
Powers that be.
You know, anytime we've looked at this list, the most compelling issues are these two.
And
I get what
I
you're- I
get
know what
it,
you're
but they're
saying.
also the probably the most expensive ones and the most, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not concrete.
Final.
Yeah.
They're,
Well, all of them.
Not.
well, all of them are, I
will
get.
be. I mean, again, the plan for the following year is an additional $700,000 worth of work. So one of the things we're aiming to have to do is to put on the warrant for March 2013, a warrant article to raise and appropriate $700,000 for the next year of this.
Okay. When we talked about setting up this dual-purpose fund, I bought the idea and talked about the idea with folks that this will allow us to sock money away so that we can wait till the last minute. And the fact that we were socking the money away would help show that we are making progress, because a big part of the making progress is getting the money to do it. So I guess I'm surprised that we're talking about doing these big things. I thought we were really, truly going to gather the funds and then spend it at the last possible minute. So that's where my head has been when we.
Because, I mean, we've been talking about this 2015 deadline.
Yeah.
You know, call me crazy, but I'd like to wait until that and, I mean, if we have to wait until then, if we have the money put away and everything else falls through, Oyster River and whatever else.
2014 will be a very busy year.
Yeah, and then we look at him and say, well, we've got the money, we can do it now. But we didn't want to do it till we absolutely had to. We don't want to put that money into a building that we don't know anything about. It just makes no sense to me. I can't do it right now.
It sounds like we should maybe at our next meeting have a discussion where we break out the timeline and what's feasible over a summer and, revisit
Right.
how we can, the realities of trying to do that sort of construction all at once.
I think we need to have Dan
Mhm.
here, Dan Bisson, and Chief Molaski, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay,
Mhm.
Let's do that.
okay.
No, I don't think we have a meeting scheduled yet. We're waiting to hear about that study.
Do you have something you want to share with the group?
Would you like?
Are we-
Yes.
Are we going to go to Oyster River's meeting next Tuesday? We're supposed to go to their regular meeting next Tuesday. You and
Not-
I and Meg.
Not the way I understood.
Right, I wasn't sure. I think we're waiting to
You
hear.
wait for hear from him?
Yeah, that was the very next step, is he's supposed to call me once he's received the report. What you're talking about, I had mentioned to him if he was going to have that as a public presentation to his board, and if he did, then we would go.
Right.
And he thought that was a good idea, but right now, I have no word from him at all.
Mr. Chair, can I ask 2 quick questions?
Certainly.
Related to the, what we were just talking about. So I think one thing that's going to be helpful for me is if Chief Molaski can actually provide us with a definition of the progress.
Mhm.
Like what is he envisioning for concrete steps in progress? Like what is his measurement going to be?
Yeah, you need to hear that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because we're all
I've
on
heard
different
that.
pages here.
Yeah.
And then what, just like off the top of your head, what would the cost be for this architectural design? Is it 30,000? I have no
I
idea.
can get an estimate for
Okay.
that. I think it's
Yeah.
less than 100,000, but I don't know exactly what.
All right. Okay, thanks.
Can I say one more thing?
No.
It's not about that specifically. It's just about this trust fund thing, Christine. I'm crazy, but I'm like this real creature of habit. So could we have something like?
working on that.
Oh, you are? Okay. Okay, I just didn't know, because I like to be able to see what we did over the 5 years to, it's just kind of my craziness. I mean, I love this too, but, all right, you heard me.
Right, those funds are for long-range sort of things, so that
Yeah.
perspective of,
Well, and the caps are down here, because we have caps on some of them, and it's
Like
just.
the rules related
Like the
to
rules
each.
related, and like this one warrant article, it talked, whatever. So,
Great.
thank you.
okay. Ready to move on to stipends for coaches?
Whoops.
You got
Yeah.
something?
To know.
Yep.
I passed out, it's called the PNE, it's the wholesale electricity supply rate. When I first had started, I was approached and asked via email, and I apologize to the person who sent me the email because I can't recall. But a question was asked whether the school district has any contracts with any other suppliers that offer discounts, and we do. And the company that we use is this PNE. And I've reached out to them to inquire, to give me an estimated idea of what our savings are. And you've had this in place for 3 years, so I would like to give you good news that over the 3 years, you have saved the $38,603. Okay, so, and then that graph shows you, the red is the PSNH and the green is the PNE wholesale rates. So I just kind of wanted to give you that. We do have something in place. We're saving money on electricity, we're doing all we can. And my little sales pitch would be, for those people at home, you can also get into some of these things. One of them is called, I'm sure you've heard it on the radio, I hear it every day, electricitynh.com. You can all sign up. It takes no more than 5 minutes, literally, because I did it myself to see. And you can save. And what it is that your supplier on your PSNH bill, or I think Unitil is now involved, and there's some others, the delivery of the supply is actually different versus it being PSNH, but your delivery is the same, so your bills don't change. You'll just notice a slight change, and you'll save money, so kind of a neat thing that they're offering, so.
Can I ask a question related to electricity and heat and stuff like that?
Sure.
It's kind of come up out there publicly, something about the rooms in the elementary school being really hot during open house, and there was this comment that we must have the heat turned up and we're wasting money, and I just want to go on record, we don't do that. I mean, we have these wonderful staff that go down and turn all of our stuff down, correct? I mean, we're not just taking and blowing our budget just by leaving heat on unnecessarily.
No.
There's a reason that some of those rooms in the elementary school are hotter than others, and that the sun comes in. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, I remember the principal talking about, when I think we were on a tour, and we were talking about
Yes.
the need for changing the windows because it just traps the heat
Yeah.
inside.
So it's
Not
not
good for
Yeah, it's
ventilation.
not that we're just letting heat go out the window, so to
No,
speak.
your custodial staff is
Yeah.
definitely on top of that. I have to admit, they are doing a fantastic job, and poor Bob goes around to every single one of those thermostats, and, yeah, so.
All right, great, thank you.
Okay. Projected stipends for coaches then.
Yes, as we were doing the budget, one of the pieces that was asked for was, can you give us the breakdown of the stipends as we pay coaches? What I have here are stipends all the way from 2010 through 2014. And so you see the stipends where it says stipend FY14, those are the ones that I have included in your budget. Where you see it says FY14 new, that is simply reference to that new scale that we unveiled last year and never did, and then this year I'd given thought to doing and never did. But you get to see at least some of the differences that it would make. Down below, you see the summation of that FY14 column. It adds up to $52,592. I subtracted out, for comparison's sake, the $1,335 that's in there for JV cheerleading. Remember, in the budget, would be a new sport, if you will. And so comparatively, year to year, it's really gone down by $360. You take that out.
For maintaining the current schedule.
Current staff, yes. I mean, obviously, we've got some changes, so some of the stipend levels change, and that's what accounts for the net decrease. But it's pretty much the same level of funding as this year.
Can you explain this? No, I think I understand. I'm going to answer my own question, but the steps that you see here, are those based on your new scale?
No, they're all based on the old. And if you will, like take, for example, if you look at step FY14, the scale only goes out 10 places. And yet you see a number of coaches out there on step 12. And so step 12 reflects a time when, even though it was a 10-step scale, they just kind of created another step for that person, not for the scale. They never changed the scale. Again, the scale we're using is like 18 years old, okay? So for some positions, I really have a 12-step scale. And obviously, they're held there. And and then the people who are at step 10, actually there's only one at step 10 and one at 9, some at 8. Step 10 is really the legitimate end of the scale.
So in that scale, is it just typical that for every year you come back and coach, like if you start one year, you're step 1, the next year you come back, you're step 2? Is that the way that they're awarded?
It's no different than for teachers. I mean, if somebody came here with 5 years of coaching experience, then we put them on step 6.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that,
Yeah.
so if someone is like on step 11, that means they've been doing this for 11 years.
Or at least.
At least 11
At
years.
least, right.
Okay. And, I mean, it seems to me, and we don't need to get into this now, I could just probably ask you, but, like, we have some stipends for assistant coaches for some sports, but not for others, even though we have an assistant coach doing that job. So I'm just a little curious, or maybe
I'm not
maybe it's
sure
all
where
in
you
one
are.
place. Well, for instance, the girls' varsity has an assistant coach, which is really listed as a girls' soccer JV, even though we don't have a girls' JV team. Do you see that?
I do.
Elizabeth Coffey?
Yep.
She's actually acting as an assistant coach.
Right.
Well, if you go down to the boys' soccer has an assistant coach that I know of, but,
Obviously, we're not paying.
all right, so
It's not on my
I
list.
just, I
It was
didn't
never
know.
been Signed, yeah.
Okay, I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't understand that, but,
Okay.
yeah, oftentimes there's not enough athletes to justify a JV team.
Sure, so they just
To
step
have a
in.
larger pool of kids on the varsity, and so that's
All
why
right.
we.
I was just curious. Well, I wish we could get out of the 18-year-old
Yeah.
scale, but
So do I.
doesn't quite seem like
Pathetic.
we're there yet.
I don't think we can be pushing it off much longer, though, like every year.
I know.
I don't know, they just dedicate so much
They
time to
do.
our kids, and
I mean, the difference, if you look on the FY14 new, the difference that I came up with down below shows the 97, 93 number. But what I failed to do was, at the very top, zero out the middle school athletic coordinator, as you had requested for next year's budget. So
yeah.
really, you could take 1,700 away from that 97, so you're down around $8,000 difference
It's
to make
really
it
not
happen.
that much.
No, I know it's not, but the way the budget is these days, $8,000
Oh, it
is
is.
a lot of money.
It
so
is.
It's difficult.
Sports can be a really important motivator for some kids to
Yes.
to work hard and
Okay.
all right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Before 9, and we're going to talk about policy.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is this like?
Yeah, there are 4 policies here. They're all for a first reading. As I outlined in the last couple meetings, actually, we had, must be at least 10 different policies that were all interrelated in the area of instruction. So I'm kind of bringing them forward in waves. And so you've got 4 more here. And I think beyond this next meeting, I'll have 2 others. But these are a couple new policies. One's on earning of credit, the other one interdisciplinary credit. Then we have a policy on online virtual education, but that's simply a review. We didn't see any need to change that. And same for alternative credit options. No changes.
Okay.
So next time for your approval.
Okay. And looks like we have resignations and other leave requests.
Right, I have 3 for your approval tonight. The first 2 are intents to retire. We have an intent to retire in 2016 from Cassandra Rodier, teacher at the elementary school. And then another intent to retire in 2015 from Ann Keefe, also a teacher at the elementary school. And then this evening, I put at your seats a request for maternity leave from Annie Kelly. And her maternity leave, she's a teacher at the elementary school. Her maternity leave would begin at the very end of February and continue through the end of the school year this year. So each one of these would need your approval.
I'd like to make a motion, what is it, to accept the intent to retire
Yes.
from Cassandra Rodier.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make another motion to accept the intent to retire for Ann Keefe.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
Yes. I need to go visit her and talk her into waiting one more year so my great niece can have her. Because she is the sweetest, most wonderful woman ever. But other than that,
There's no one, I don't hear any disagreement there.
No.
Okay, hearing no other comments, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And regarding the,
Anyone? Or
For
am I-
Annie Kelly, I'll
am
make
I
a
under-
motion to accept the maternity leave for Annie Kelly beginning at the end of February
February 28th.
2013.
I'll second that.
any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries as well. Any nominations this evening?
None?
No need, as I understand. We have a manifest.
Oh, hold on. I'm sitting here looking at the calendar. I've moved on to calendar already. I'd like to make a motion to accept the total of all manifests in the amount of $540,013.41.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So now we're thinking about calendar, Kelly.
Sorry, yes.
Um,
Linda, they put bingo on there.
Hey.
So to review a little bit, some earlier things, the elementary school has a fall cleanup scheduled for Saturday the 3rd from 8 to 10 a.m. It sounds like it's all are welcome, but those that can bring a pickup truck are more welcome. And to do mostly work around the playground. It sounds like some tree trimming, etc.
And once you're done with that, you can go to the girls' championship soccer game.
That's right. Which is an SNHU 145 against Littleton. Be a
Go.
big day.
Wear black.
Wear
Wear
black.
Is that what you said?
Wear black.
And bring your voices.
Yes.
And enthusiasm. So we have a budget work session, well, backing up Tuesday, November 6th from 7 a.m. till 8 p.m. at the high school gymnasium is Election Day. Please come and participate in democracy. We have a budget work session on the 8th, 7 p.m. here. There's Jim, you'll be speaking with the PTA on Tuesday the 13th at their 6:30 p.m. regular
Right.
meeting. Be good to get some more input on the options that are out there.
Where is that, you said?
That will be at the elementary school.
Elementary school.
Yeah.
And then a similar meeting will be at 9 a.m. the following morning.
Yes,
And what is the location of that?
here, in this room.
Okay, in the
Chamber.
council chambers.
Right.
And that won't be videoed or
No, I don't believe so. I
Okay.
didn't set that up. No.
okay. So it'll be an informal conversation with any community member welcome. That same evening, there's the family literacy night at 7:30. And where is that? Does it?
That was 6:30.
That's at 6:30.
Sorry, 6:30.
actually. It's at the elementary school.
At the elementary school. And then we'll be here again for a regular board meeting 2 weeks from tonight on the 15th. The joint school board meeting with SAU 16 is at 7 p.m. In Exeter. And that is at the same time as the 7 p.m. similar informal facilities
Public
discussion
forum, yeah.
that you will have also in this room.
Yes.
Then it's Thanksgiving.
Wow.
Oh, I saved an important one for last, being bingo next Saturday, the 10th. Soccer season will be over, so there'll be no conflict there.
And that's mullet night and.
Oh, that's right.
That's mullet, what was the other one?
Mustache and mullets.
Mullet,
Mustache and
mustache,
mullet.
so.
So if anyone is interested in getting tickets to that Monarchs Mustache Mullet Night in Manchester,
Is that to benefit the junior class?
yes,
Yeah.
contact the junior senior high school.
Principal, I think it's Chris Andrews.
Yes.
Emma, do you remember I see that the food drive begins on Monday, November 26th. Why did I always think that we gave those, that those went out for Thanksgiving? They don't? No, they go out for
I think so.
Christmas?
No, it's been Christmas.
It's
It is
before
always
Christmas,
Christmas.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like around Thanksgiving.
We
All
we
right.
tend to get turkeys and stuff that are donated, but
Okay.
those just go for Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else for November that I failed to mention?
Seems like a pretty packed month.
It always is.
Do we have any flexibility in our budget work session starting times? I know that.
I think
Well,
this
we're-
one I had for 6:30,
Earlier said that, yeah.
didn't I?
Well,
Six.
It was 7 on the What was the last one?
The last
It was
one-
6, but we had to meet
Moved it
at
because-
6:45.
45
And-
because.
So maybe this one is still on the calendar. for
I don't know what
six.
your work constraints are.
I'm willing to, I can start as early as 6.
I could
Okay.
do 6.
I can too.
Is that all right with you, Chad?
All right.
6 PM on the 8th.
6 PM on the 8th. Look at how we make decisions.
I like that decision.
All right. We do have need to go into non-public under RSA 91A:3, Roman numeral 2. Is it paragraph A?
Yes, it is.
So would anyone like to make a motion regarding that?
What is that related to?
Oh, sorry, that's personnel matters, dismissal, promotion, compensation of any public employee, et cetera.
I will say so moved.
I'll second that.
Cliff Chase.
Aye?
Meg Laney Moore.
Aye.
Kelly Foster.
Aye.
Chet Jablonski. Linda Montagani.
Aye.
At